Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the new screensavers is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of the New Screensavers is brought to you by Braintree. If you're working on a mobile app and searching for a simple payment solution, check out Braintree. With one simple integration, you can offer your customers every way to pay, period. To learn more and for your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free, go to BraintreePayments.com/NSS. And by LittleBits, the easy way to build electronics with modular building blocks. Go to littlebits.com/NSS and you'll receive $20 off your first kit, plus free shipping in the United States. And by the Ring Video Doorbell. With Ring, you can see and talk to anyone at your door from anywhere in the world using your smartphone. It's like caller ID for your house. Get $25 off the Ring Video Doorbell when you go to ring.com/NSS.
3D printing hands for disabled kids, saving humanity from asteroids, and make music with your pants. Live from the Twit Brick House in beautiful downtown Petaluma, it's the New Screensavers.
Episode 10, recorded on July 11th, 2015. I'm Father Robert Ballecer.
And I'm Patrick Norton, and I am not wearing lederhosen.
No, but I am. That's how strange things are on this set. And we've got a great show for you today. I mean, imagine the greatest possible thing you could do with something that's 3D printed. We've got Enabling the Future. It's a group that creates hands for children who need them. How amazing is that?
It's beyond amazing.
It's beyond amazing. We also meet the man who wants to prevent the destruction of humanity by asteroids, a.k.a. Michael Bay style. And do you want to make music with your pants? No, not like that. We've actually got drum pants in the house to show us the next generation of music. That's right, live studio guest for music. Folks, we have spared no expense for this episode of
Musical
The Screensavers.
Pants.
Musical pants.
Musical pants.
My pants are often musical.
I don't want to know.
No, we're not going
nowhere
there.
safe to go with that.
Oh,
not
no,
even
there's
for me.
There's not.
Okay, let's changing tack, thinking a little more technologically. IBM of all places.
Yes.
IBM is still making badass stuff.
You wouldn't think it. Most people think IBM is now a history footnote in technology.
Well, if you need a global interconnected network that's absolutely positively always going to work, IBM, great place to go. But we don't really think of them as making chip technology in a big way. No. And they came out with a 7-nanometer germanium silicon process. I close my eyes and I think really hard because germanium is a word that makes me really nervous to say even without braces.
Exactly, yeah. This is a next generation format. Now, what they're doing is they're actually using extreme ultraviolet.
Yes.
It's a new lithography technique. They're going down beyond even the 10 nanometer range that they think the next generation of chips is going to be created at. Now, imagine this. When Moore's Law was created back in 1965, that transistor was something like 1/100th of an inch, which if you were to expand to, say, the size of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Sure.
Right, so let's say that original transistor is the size of the Golden Gate Bridge. Today, that same transistor is about the size of this AA battery.
You've been doing math again.
I've been doing some math, math, back of the napkin math. But I mean, that's just amazing when you consider how many times we've doubled the capacity by decreasing the size of these traces.
Well, we should also point out this technology isn't going to be available anywhere probably until 2016. It's an early lab proof. You know, it's an early basically proof that it worked. Look at that, which is way even earlier than taping out. Like some basic transistor functionality. A pretty simple die was used in this place. I want to say, is this SUNY College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering, and that's a shot of what basically the first wafer using this technology.
Right, yeah, and the interesting thing about this is IBM will be part of a partnership that's investing $3 billion into the development of this technology. As you said, this is very early days. They don't have a process. This is almost like a hand-cooked wafer. You're talking about something so small that any vibrations, like even the vibration of a hot machine, will throw off the lithography. But what it does do is it stops those people from saying, I think 10 nanometer is as small as we can get. We're pushing the physics. Now, for comparison, a strand of DNA is 2.5 nanometers. So we're getting down to like DNA-sized computers.
Well, it's funny, when you talk to some of the engineers and the scientists that are working on this, they start saying like, you know, well, when the traces get that small, the problem is as soon as you run electricity down them, they melt. Because there's just no way to reduce the resistance, or there's just no way to carry. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here, how far it is before we move from like actually using electricity to say using photons. It's exciting, and it's all far from over.
The future.
The future.
Plastics.
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 Nah, the future is getting rid of flash.
Yes.
It's been a really big theme in my life, like, you know, ThreatWire, TechThing, pretty much everybody I talk to in real life. If you haven't uninstalled Flash, it's just time to kill Flash, right? And if you're, you know, if you want to leave Flash, okay, leave it in Chrome, and then maybe turn off the extension in Chrome. I bring this up because an Italian group called Hacking Team suffered the worst nightmare of any security consultant effort, which is that they got hacked.
Which, by the way, if you name your company Hacking Team, you deserve to be hacked.
I don't know if they deserve to be hacked. I don't want to get into the whether. Well, actually, you know what? It was interesting because Hacking Team gets hacked, and they're like, no, that 400 gigabytes of files didn't come from us. No, that spreadsheets that said we were accepting money from places like the Sudan and Russia and other places with human rights issues. That was just put together by our enemies to make us look bad. Those, you know, it was just like they were making fun of the passwords that some of the employees of Hacking Team used.
My personal favorite was that email dump that showed that they were making a joke about collecting Bitcoin to hire a hit on an ACLU activist. I mean, that's funny. That's charming stuff. Yeah, makes me laugh.
But you know, part of what came out of this, along with the fact that these guys just don't look good, you know, because they've been saying all along, well, we don't, you know, our technology may be used in places with human rights issues, but we aren't dealing with them directly. No, you're just dealing with them through a bank where you're collecting the payments for your ongoing service to those countries. I don't want to get judgy here, but I am. They also, a number of unknown zero-day exploits showed up, including a Flash exploit.
A big one, and actually Adobe still hasn't patched it. They've promised a patch, but it's pretty deep in there. It's not one of these, it used an external hook. This is something wrong, fundamentally wrong with the kernel that Flash uses, so it might take a while, and expect a big download in the future. The other thing about this story is the fact that it did expose that, for example, the FBI has spent about $800,000 with Hacking Team since 2011.
Well, Hacking Team's tools, they essentially create tools that make it easier for law enforcement to listen in on what's going on. Now, law enforcement in some cases are groups of people that kick in the doors of people who believe horrible things like they should be able to read what they want to read. Right? In other cases, it's kicking in the doors of people who maybe want to kill everybody in a particular nation because they disagree with them. So the problem is like these tools may be, you know, necessary, but then we get into the whole NSA argument where it's like,
I would debate even that, because there are legitimate security/network management tools. I play with them all the time, and these are like taps and devices that go in line that can help you figure out where the traffic is going and what kind of traffic you have.
Are you suggesting there should be some kind of oversight and court system that decides whether or not you should be able to put this information on in a legit manner?
No, not at all. But see, Hacking Team's completely different. They don't make a tap. They don't make a switch. They make Trojans. That was their business model. So they make software that finds its way into your computer where they can activate your camera, your microphone, look at what you're typing, look through your hard drive. There is no legitimate use of that if you are at all concerned with civil rights. So, I mean, it's a fine line, but you got to kind of draw it somewhere.
Yeah, I think you should draw it somewhere. In any case, something you should draw is just reach in and draw Flash out of your machine.
Yes.
Because quite frankly, outside of like 4 websites that are still using Flash, it's just, it's time. Flash is doomed, Flash is dead, Flash, I hate you with the fiery passions of 1,000 suns, and boy, and it's not even like getting into the fact like, okay, so a team of hackers are using bad passwords. Their system gets whacked into. OPM has been slaughtered, I mean, effectively. It turns out there's been like 20 million
and it doesn't have to be just
records exposed.
Active hacking. I mean, you could mess up your routing like United Airlines, or you could fat finger a software update like the New York Stock Exchange. So, yeah, we're living in fun times.
That's why I decided we should all step away from the computers and just go medieval.
Or just go down to Baja 500 and enjoy the dust.
That's not medieval, but it is fun.
It is fun.
Oh, my goodness.
Speaking of fun, you know what it's time for? It's time for the thing that we enjoy the most. That's when people come onto the new Screensavers and they say, help me. At the top of the show, we've got Jacob from Milwaukee. Great place. I live there. Fun story. I actually laid down a brand new Harley-Davidson V-twin in that city.
Ow.
Yeah, so hopefully Jacob's not here to talk about motorcycles.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Pretty good. How are you in Milwaukee?
It's steamy out right now.
Yes, I do remember that too. You had some issues with a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, so I'd like to use this thing in my car using OSMC or something similar. And I picked up a 7-inch touchscreen because it should fit just perfectly inside my dashboard. I hook it up to a Windows computer, works great. Hook it up to any Linux computer, it works great. As soon as I hook it up to a Pi, I got nothing.
Let me ask you, this 7-inch touchscreen that you got, it's just got an HDMI input and maybe a USB input. How does it connect to the computer?
It's got a HDMI. It's got the yellow composite in. It's got the old style monitor cable that can go into it. I think what it was one of the backup camera screens.
Ah, okay.
And then you just buy the touch film that you put over it. And the touch film is actually a separate USB device.
Do you want the good news or the bad news here?
Lay it on me.
For those playing along at home, we should also point out, Jacob's pretty comfortable with Linux. He's recompiled the kernels. He's searched for drivers. But essentially, at some point...
Yeah, at some point, you got to say how much time is too much time.
Yeah.
You could make this work. Absolutely. That's not a problem.
I could run a 4440.
I could, yes.
You could run a 4440. It could happen.
These are all possibilities.
That said, how much time do you want to put into it making it possibly happen?
Right, yeah. So here's the thing. If you go into eBay right now, in fact, we're going to show you a link for a place that I've used. I've actually used a couple of these screens and installs that I've done. It's an 800 by 400. It's the perfect resolution for a Raspberry Pi. It plugs into the HDMI port on any Raspberry Pi, and that little USB cable will tie into the Pi, and with Raspbian, the default install that almost everyone puts on their Raspberry Pi, it works out of the box. No recompiling the kernel, no adding of modules, no freaky configuration. So that's $60.
Right.
Now, you got to ask yourself, how much is your time worth? You could probably get yours working right, but the first time you want to do an upgrade or reinstallation, you're going to have to do it all over again. I kind of like the out-of-the-box solutions.
We've lost Jacob.
We've lost Jacob.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
There was just silence, stunned silence. I mean, I'm a big fan of Adafruit.com. If you've never been there, if you like Raspberry Pis, it is glorious. Element 14 is another place to get lots of modules and stuff. But Adafruit has an amazing collection of LCDs and displays, some touchscreen, some not touchscreen, from like 2.5 inches up to 7 inches and larger.
Right.
And again, I bring that up, you know, in case you're worried about a random eBay vendor. You've bought the stuff, it works for them.
Right.
You can go with something like Adafruit, who does make sure everything they sell actually works for the Raspberry Pi before you buy it. That's the I would assume it is a driver issue.
It is a driver issue.
It reeks of being a driver issue.
And this one, the 7-inch screen that I've been using, it works with Raspberry, it'll work with BeagleBone. So, I mean, they have actually put the work into it to make sure that you're not going to have any driver conflicts. Again, I don't want to dissuade you from getting this to work, because we love when people put the time into getting it work.
Right.
But I mean, this is going to go in your car, and if it's going to go in your car, you really don't want to have to fiddle with it in the middle of a trip because the drivers decided to.
Why won't it load?
No, we don't do that at all. We don't fiddle.
Out of curiosity, when you say that this is going to be for your car, are you just hoping to run an entertainment system? Do you want it to be more than that? What's your ultimate vision for Car Pi?
All of my music with me all the time.
Perfect.
That, and I got 3 kids, and being able to put 2 screens in the back seat and tell them to be quiet would be great.
Ah, okay. Actually, this is something that might be interesting then. You don't have access to a 3D printer, do you?
Yeah, I've got my own that I built, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, go to Thingiverse right now. You're going to find an enclosure that looks just like this. This will fit a Raspberry Pi, and the cool thing about this is there's a compartment here for you to be able to put one-cell 3.7-volt lithium poly batteries along with an external hard drive that you plug in via USB. The cool thing about this is you can install this, say, in the back well of your car. It will keep the Pi on for up to 24 hours. So even if you turn off power to the car, the Raspberry Pi will continue to run, which means you're not going to have to worry about corrupting your Linux, which also means you could route all the video you need out of this box to the monitors you want for your kids. Now there's a car project.
Beautiful.
There you go. Did we give you too much information?
No, I may, I'm going to do all that and some more, I think. I got camper projects now, too.
Uh-oh. Okay, you're going to have to call back in with the camper project because I think we can really pimp that one out.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, that'd be great.
I've always wanted to equip an Airstream.
We'll talk, because I have an Airstream.
You have an Airstream?
Yeah, I have an Airstream.
Okay, it's project time.
Oh, let me get the axle swapped first. Jacob, thank you so much for your question. And thank you.
Hey, all right. Thanks, guys.
Stay cool in
Keep
Milwaukee.
up the good work.
Absolutely.
Thanks, man.
Now, folks, if you've got a question, and actually next week we've got Leo Laporte back, so if you want to ask the man himself for a little bit of help, well, here's an easy way to send us your questions.
Need tech help? The new screensavers are here with answers. Email your tech questions to newscreensavers@twit.tv.
Coming up, we've got Becky Worley with a tip on posture. Are you feeling a pain in your back? I mean, I get that all the time because I'm sitting down in front of a computer a lot, and I try to do that whole thing where I get up.
Have you gotten like the standing desk?
I have a standing desk.
Do you use it?
I have a standing desk. It goes up and down. I tested that.
You still haven't answered the question.
I mean,
you can say no. It's okay.
No, it goes down.
Mm-hmm. And there it stays, apparently.
It stays down. But I do get up. I do walk around. But Becky Worley's got a tip for those people who might start to feel a little bit of pain in your back or maybe a crick in your neck. She's got posture tips coming right up.
Spine removal with Becky Worley.
That's right. And we've also got you speaking with some good folks who are doing good work with a 3D printer. And again, we've got these guys who are going to play their pants off for you. But before we get to the drum pants, people, we do want to take just a moment to thank the first sponsor of this episode of the new Screensavers. Let me ask you this. For you old timers out there, do you remember how much of a pain it was to put financial transactions into your web app or your web service or your app? It used to be that you had to stand up your own server, and you probably had to make those backroom deals with the financial companies in order to make sure that you had the security for the services because you didn't want to expose any of the financial information for your customers, which of course led to headaches and just, well, no. You don't have to do that anymore. We live in the modern age, folks, which is why we're happy to have Braintree as a sponsor of this episode of the new Screensavers. Now, if you're a mobile app developer, you've got to check out Braintree. You owe it to yourself. Braintree is the payment solution used by companies like Uber, Airbnb, Hotel Tonight, Living Social, and The Munchery. They make the payment experience in these apps magical and seamless. And now you can add a similar experience to your own app. With excellent customer service and simple integration, Braintree gets you ready to receive payments quickly. And isn't that what you want? You don't want to have to worry about how you're getting paid. You just want to get paid and get back to programming. And Braintree's continuous support plus fast payouts means that you'll be prepared as your company grows from its first dollar to its billionth. Braintree is helping solve the problems of mobile card abandonment by offering a best-in-class mobile checkout experience. If you've run a mobile payments app at all, you know that the biggest thing is they get to that last step when they have to click confirm and they just don't want to do it. Well, Braintree has tricks, has a solution for you. Now, if your current payment processor can't do that, then I got to ask, why are you using them? Now, they make the payment experience in these apps seamless and magical by giving you an SDK, their V.0 SDK, which provides support in multiple languages for iOS and for Android. Folks, there's just no excuse for you not to try them. And right now, we're going to make it even easier. Braintree gives you a full-stack payment solution with support for all payment types that your customers might want, including PayPal, Apple Pay, Bitcoin, Venmo, cards, and more, all with that single 10-line integration across all platforms, and they're going to give you your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free. Are you out of excuses yet? Because if you are, go to BraintreePayments.com/NSS. That's BraintreePayments.com/NSS. And we thank Braintree for their support of the new Screensavers. In just a bit, this man right here is going to talk about a company that's doing the right thing by giving folks a hand who need it.
They're not really a company. They're a group of people working together to do something amazing.
A concern. They are a concern.
I like that.
I like that. But before we go there, let's go ahead and take a listen to Becky Worley, because she's got something that everyone who works with a computer needs to hear.
Hey, I'm Becky Worley, technology and consumer correspondent for Good Morning America, ABC News. But more importantly, I was one of the original producers of the original Screensavers. Back in 1998, Leo was and still is our hero. And so I'm honored and thrilled to be here giving you a tip on the new Screensavers. So a story I was covering a few weeks ago on Good Morning America was about posture at our desks. And you know Leo, he loves to bounce on his ball, that he has as his chair for his desk. Well, he's on to something, because a posture guru who has revolutionized Silicon Valley in the way that she's helping people who have back pain, people who live at their desks and therefore have terrible posture, she says we're thinking about posture wrong. We've been taught all our lives to tuck our butts under when we sit and then have our spine up on top. But actually, you want to do the opposite, she says. Her name's Esther Gokhale, and she says you want to put your behind behind. Basically, what you're doing is you're making a J with your spine, and then your butt goes out behind. It's counterintuitive because we've been taught to sit properly with our bum tucked underneath. But that's not what happens when you sit on the ball. Leo's figured this out a long time ago. You have to widen your legs out and tip your pelvis forward. Your behind goes behind. So the first thing you want to do when you get into a chair is to put your butt all the way to the back, stretch out your spine, and then stack your spine as your butt and the bottom of your spine goes into a J. This woman, Esther Gokhale, I'll show you a little clip from Good Morning America here. She had me put a pillow on the chair, and then she tips your pelvis forward. You sit down with your chest forward. We've all been taught, support your lumbar. But she says, no, you want to push. And you can almost use a piece of cloth right behind your rib cage to push your chest forward, keep your arms in that T-Rex position. And that's what will make you have better posture as you sit at your desk. And actually, ever since I really learned from her, I have had much better posture, less back pain when I'm sitting for hours writing, You can go check out her website. It's called the Gokhale Method, Gokhale method. But it's been really revolutionary for a lot of people, and so many suffer from back pain, especially those of us that are at our computers all the time. So, hey, thanks for watching the Screensavers. I'm Becky Worley, at BWorley on Twitter. Go Screensavers, go Leo.
Everybody in Silicon Valley, I get a PR announcement once a week, sometimes twice a day, where somebody's telling me they have a disruptive technology. It's going to change everything about email extensions. And then you vomit and you go, we really need to talk about disruptive and what it means. Because this, what I'm going to show you right now, we got a couple folks here, John Wong, Marla Parker, who are going to talk about enablingthefuture.org. And these people are using, or actually I should say these people, there's a whole group of people that are working to create 3D printed hands, primarily for children. And this is a big deal because the hand I'm holding you uses about $35 in materials, and it replaces a hand that might cost $6,000 or $8,000. That is huge, not just here in the United States, but incredibly huge in emerging economies around the world. Marla, John, welcome to the Screensavers. Excuse me, the new Screensavers. How are you guys doing today?
Great, thank you.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Did you guys, I heard recently you guys got a Google grant. What does that mean, a Google grant?
A Google grant means that we got a grant from Google. It came through our fiscal sponsor, because at the time when we applied for it, we weren't really a real nonprofit yet. We weren't a 501c3. And so it comes through them. And it means that Google gave us money to achieve some very specific things. A couple of design challenges to try and get more designs, better designs, and some staffing to help us design processes for testing. Because while we do testing, we test the printability of the devices and we test the functionality, like do they actually, make a fist to close. The usability is always a little bit ad hoc. It's very informal, right? I mean, people try them, they test them, they write in the community, and it's always lots of fun, but we don't have a lot of data collected on the actual results.
Right.
And so that's what Google wants us to do, and we're very excited about it.
So Enabling the Future is not a lot of people.
Well, it is a lot of people.
How many people is it now?
John just looked it up today.
5,601 members.
Oh my goodness.
In the Google Plus community.
Okay.
But those people are not all printers. They're not all recipients. It's a big mix of people doing lots of different things.
So you have people designing hands. You have people printing hands. You have clinics that work all around the world that are, you know, fitting the hands to people. Is everyone a custom-fitted print based on measurements, or?
Yes.
How does that work if you're working in you know, some place that is incredibly far from a 3D printer? Do you do custom measurements and then the hand gets slowly shipped out to the child, or?
No, sometimes, but not usually. More often, we'll send a whole variety, sort of like a shoe store inventory.
Sure.
Like a bunch of different sizes and colors, and then the people that are local will work with the recipients and try and fit them with something that fits.
So, you know, on the website it says, like, you know, $35, and there's, I'm pretty sure there's an asterisk, because that points out it's maybe like $35 of material. You know, but this hand I'm holding is somewhere between, what, 12 and 24 hours of printing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest challenge in printing a 3D hand?
I guess, you know, finding someone that has a 3D printer. Obviously, you know, not everyone has one, although it's, you know, you're finding it, more and more people are having it, more and more schools are having it now. Obviously, you know, years past, that wasn't the case. So finding someone that has a 3D printer and is willing to print one of these, because it's not just something that, you know, you just send a file and it's able to do it. You have to kind of watch it and whatnot and make sure the print doesn't fail. And then also assembling it. That's, you know, the other issue as well.
I mean, we were talking before the show, and I was laughing because I had a pre-assembled, pre-manufactured, ready to go, out-of-the-box 3D printer from a major manufacturer, and I couldn't get a 20-millimeter cube to print. And these parts, I mean, these are sophisticated. Is this what? I mean, how many designs or design sort of evolutions have you guys gone through so far?
I would say there's currently about 12 to 15 designs that are out there that, you know, we've, you know, given out to people. I think beyond, as far as maybe failed designs, I don't know, but there's about 12 to 15 that, you know, are approved. They're on Umagine, they're on Thingiverse, so those files are, you know, are open source. Anyone could download them and print them out themselves. But you know, the thing is, what's great about this community is that things are evolving. You know, we've only been in existence 2 years, and so we've grown. You know, look how we've grown.
Right.
But as more and more people come on board, and as you know, with this Google grant, we're able to, you know, bring more minds kind of, you know, to the community and help us kind of improve on things.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a pretty incredible open source effort. I mean, the designs are open source. You're about to say something, though.
Well, you asked about the assembly.
Sure.
And I just wanted to point out that it isn't trivial to assemble. It does, you know, take, it's a little complicated, but there is a 9-year-old who has learned to do it completely on her own. So
that's incredible.
It's, you know, it's something
achievable
that you can learn to do. And so, families learn to do it for themselves, and then they teach other families to do it.
So if people are interested in helping, because it's, you know, hands are kind of the beginning, because they're such a high-profile item. You know, you guys are working for designs for people who don't have a wrist or the ability to trigger a wrist-enabled one. Assumably other, you know, I mean, are we talking feet, legs? Are you guys, is it just too early to tell where you can make this work?
The lower limb prosthetics are a lot riskier because the forces involved are much stronger. And so as a community, everybody has pretty much agreed, not by, you know, decree, just by agreement. You know, the culture is we're going to stay away from lower limb prosthetics for a while. There's a few people working on them, but we feel like there's so much we can learn by focusing on upper limb that that's where the focus is for now.
So when I'm looking at this compared to, say, an $8,000, $6,000, $10,000, $8,000 hand, the grip strength's a little less. You know, but for the most part, if I want to do things, if I want to hold a cup, if I want to actually grasp things, hold on to a bicycle handlebar, maybe manipulate basic tools, all the same functionality is existing here.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It's does take some practice. So sometimes the kids will just put it on, they'll be like, yeah, okay, that's cool, and they take it off.
Right.
So the ones that get more out of it actually work with a doctor or an OT or a PT, and they learn, they give them, especially the littlest kids, they'll give them fun little exercises to do, and then they can get pretty darn adept at them. But it does take practice. So you bend your wrist to make a fist. And this one's a demo hand. It's got a place to hang on to. While you're doing that, I can tell you about the arm. The arm, this is an RIT arm. It was designed there. And we're actually kind of on a pause right now with the arms because we're not happy with the usability. They can print, they can kind of function, but we're trying to make some design improvements before we go back to actually delivering arms to people.
When you say RIT, is that Rochester Institute of Technology?
Yeah, right. That's where our founder is from, his name is John Shull, and he founded the community and he works there.
Cool.
There you go.
That's amazing.
You need to practice. So John, you may have noticed, you know, is lacking some fingers himself. He's got the same thing that a lot of the kids have that we serve, and they can get along just fine. I mean, John doesn't need the prosthetic, and the
John,
kids.
you said you were 42 and you've never had an artificial hand or a prosthetic.
Yeah, I've never had the need for one. I mean, I obviously was born with amniotic band syndrome, which is one of the limb difference kind of afflictions, I guess you want to call it. But because I can, you know, hold a water bottle, I have that ability to grab onto things. But so, you know, for me, having a prosthetic, it wouldn't really be that advantageous for me because, you know, I can do most things. I played sports. I can shoot with my left hand, throw a ball with my left hand, etc. But for someone, obviously, who's missing, you know, more of their, you know, more fingers, more of their hand or arm, then obviously this is, you know, very beneficial. In some cases, it could be life-changing for them.
And the hand I'm holding right here was actually developed for a girl, a young woman, who basically the wrist ends right about here, right?
Yeah, it's she has a little bit of nubbins right above her wrist, and so because she's able to wiggle her wrist, she's able to operate the hand. Again, yeah, these hands are wrist-driven, so as long as they're able to, you know, move their wrists, they're able to open and close the hands.
So there's two reasons why these appeal to kids. One is kids are less likely to get a real prosthetic because they keep growing, right, and they're going to grow out of it. But the second thing is it turns what is at best ignored, all of a sudden it's a cool thing. Because all kids, whether they have hands or not, love these things. And so the kid all of a sudden is like, they just have this really cool thing and everybody's jealous and
the bright,
excited.
colorful, shiny robot hand.
Right. You know, whereas the adults are kind of like, yeah, maybe not.
Well,
use it if I really need it, but otherwise I don't really need a giant green hand.
It's really cool, and you know, it's kind of a crazy concept. Also, that the idea, like, you know, I'm in the process of finishing building a 3D printer. If I wanted to contribute, how could I do that?
You go to enablingthefuture.org and you click on Get Involved. That's the first step.
This is incredible. John, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Marla, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Comets, asteroids, space junk, oh my, the man who wants to save us from it all and making music with your pants. And here's Kevin Rose with another great app recommendation.
Hey everyone, Kevin Rose here with my app of the day. These are some of my favorite apps I consider to be essential for iPhone users. First up, Glimpse. Glimpse, for me, is a way to share my location and my real-time location with friends and family. If I'm traveling to and from work, I'm heading to the grocery store, no matter where I am, I can launch Glimpse, hit the bottom button down here, and just choose Share. And when I choose Share, it has my favorites, all the people I normally communicate with. I tap on that person, it sends them a text message with a link. They can click on it, they can view, I can view that they're actually viewing my location. You can see how fast the person is traveling towards you if they're traveling in a car. It's just a fun little app to keep track of your friends.
In just a bit, if your knowledge of space debris, near-Earth objects is limited to what you've learned from Michael Bay in Hollywood, well, folks, we're going to fix that. We've got an expert who's going to be telling you what you need to know about near-Earth objects. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take some time to thank the second sponsor of this episode of the New Screensavers, and it's Little Bits. Now, I'm a maker. I like tinkering, which is why I love the fact that we've got Little Bits as a sponsor of the TWiT TV network. Now, what is Little Bits? Little Bits is a great way to take the making experience out of the hands of people who might be a bit more advanced, maybe a bit more knowledgeable about electronics and how things go together, and put them into the hands of people who just are curious about how the world works around them. Now, this is what's inside the Little Bits kit. Now, take a look at this. This is inside their space kit. This is 12 different bits, everything from a speaker to a slider so you can change voltages to, oh, I don't know, lights, counters, and of course, all the other little bits that will allow you to connect the kit to things like servos and motors and do light detection. This is a complete maker kit in a box. Now, the best thing about this is you don't have to worry about soldering. That comes later. That comes when you want to do more advanced projects. The Little Bits work with magnets. And not only do they work with magnets, but you can't put them backwards. If you try to put them backwards, just like, you know, when we learned in grade school, it'll push it away, which means that your kids will be able to say, I want to do a project that involves a speaker, a couple of lights, a slider, a power source, and a counter, and boom, there you go. Little Bits really puts the control in the hands of the people who want to create. And isn't that what we really want? Now, you could try several different kits based on who you're trying to buy for. The base and the deluxe kits are perfect ways to get kids excited about learning and playing with electronics. This space kit was developed in partnership with NASA, and it's a fun educational way to explore Earth and space science. The Arduino coding kit, well, I would recommend this for people who have been playing around with their own microprocessors. If they've got any Arduino programming experience, this will allow them to interface it with the Little Bits kits. Now, for the tinkerer, they've got the deluxe kits that includes 18 modules. For the musician, they've got the synth kit that has a modular analog synthesizer. And of course, for the programmer, there ain't nothing better than playing with a little bit of Arduino. Here's what we want you to do. We want you to invest in the future of your youngins or of the geek in your life. Right now, Little Bits is offering new customers $20 off their first kit. Just go to littlebits.com/NSS. That's littlebits.com/NSS and get $20 off your first kit. Plus, you get free shipping in the United States. Once again, that's littlebits.com/NSS. And we thank Little Bits for their support of the new screensaver. So, and by the way, if you do create a Little Bits project, do me a favor, tweet to me at PadreSJ. I'd love to see what you create, and well, we'll try to put it on one of our shows. I have the pleasure of standing next to the man who's going to explain to you what space, well, at least near-Earth space, is all about. This is Mr. Gerald McKeegan. He is a NEO specialist, an astronomer at Chabot Space and Science Center. Thank you very much for coming onto the show.
You're welcome. How are you?
Now, when we talk about near-Earth objects, what are we talking about? Does that include the Kuiper Belt? Is that everything in the solar system? How do we define that?
We define it as asteroids and sometimes comets that get within about 27 million miles of the Earth's orbit. So the Kuiper Belt is way beyond the Earth's orbit. But asteroids can wander in from the asteroid belt, which is between Mars and Jupiter, and wander in and they get closer to the Earth. They start orbiting near the Earth, and so we call those near-Earth objects or near-Earth asteroids, and occasionally comets can do the same thing.
Why is that significant? Because I've heard the term near-Earth object every once in a while. Normally it comes with some sort of media panic of, oh, we're all about to die.
Right.
But why is that significant?
Well, it's significant because near-Earth objects get close to the Earth. They can get close to the Earth. They can actually potentially impact the Earth, so we want to keep track of them. Right now we know of about 14,000 near-Earth objects. We think there are well over 1 million of them out there, so there's plenty yet to find.
Okay, so I have to ask the obvious question, and I'm going to play the everyman here. Okay. 14,000 sounds like a lot until you say the million. And then I'm asking, well, that's not right. I mean, if we have to be concerned about these, why don't we know where everything is? Isn't it easy? Don't we just sweep the sky with radar?
No, it's actually pretty hard to find them, especially the smaller ones. We have found most of the larger ones bigger than 1 kilometer across, and those are the dinosaur killers. But the smaller ones, 100 meters, 200 meters, 300 meters across, most of them we have not found yet. They're much harder to find, they're much fainter, the viewing opportunity is shorter, so it really requires a lot of work. And
you know, what's amazing is, especially since, again, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of us have really bad conceptions of what the search is from, because we watched Hollywood, we watched Deep Impact, we watched Armageddon or Gravity, and we've got fans in the audience.
Or Discovery Channel.
Or Discovery Channel, with that announcer who says, and we're about to die.
Right.
And it seems so easy, right? I mean, we just turn on some gadget or gizmo or face a satellite towards space, and suddenly we know where everything is. But that process is actually very old school.
Yes, it is, but it's still the method that we use. We point telescopes at space, and we scan the skies. The problem is, as we start working with these smaller and smaller asteroids, it's harder to see them, and we need some other resources. That's where we're now talking about putting spacecraft out there just dedicated to searching for near-Earth asteroids.
Oh, right now on the screen, we've got it's labeled as asteroid 153958.
Right.
What am I looking at?
Yeah,
Where is the asteroid?
There's actually an asteroid in there. The word asteroid means star-like. And so one of these stars that you see in that image is actually the asteroid. And it's kind of right in the middle right now. You would see it moving across the sky. And that's how we find them. We take pictures of the sky. We point a camera in a telescope, take pictures of the sky, come back about 10 minutes later, take another picture, come back about 10 minutes later, take another picture. We do this over a period of 45 minutes to an hour. And then we blink through those images to see if we see any star-like objects that are actually moving across the sky.
How accurate can you get? Because, I mean, you're taking pictures of the vastness of space, and you're seeing these tiny little dots that you've identified. Right. How much data can you get about the actual trajectory or the orbit of a body simply by 2, 3, 4 frames?
Well, what we do is we match the position of the asteroid to the position of the stars you see in the image. And we have some pretty accurate data about the position of those stars. And then we determine the position of the asteroid, how bright it is, and the exact timing. We have to time those images to a fraction of a second. And then we use that data to do some complex calculations, and it's really complicated. And that gives us a preliminary orbit. Then we have to go back and have other astronomers, other observatories do follow-up observations. And eventually we get enough data to where we can pin down the orbit pretty well.
And when you start using the math, it's not as simple as saying, well, it was here, then it's here, so the next point is here. Because the math has to include all the different gravitational influences it may be experiencing. If you're within 0.3 AU of the Earth, you're going to be experiencing a pull from Earth. You're going to be experiencing pulls from other planets. And there's something that you were trying to explain to me before the show. There's a very cool effect that can happen with bodies as they rotate.
Right. It's called the Yarkovsky effect. And what it is that as the asteroid is flying through space, it's slowly rotating. The side that's facing the sun is heated by the sun. As that side turns away from the sun, it radiates that heat back out into space. And that actually gives the asteroid a little push. And so this is going on all the time, so over a period of months and years, it actually changes the orbit of the asteroid. So even after we've discovered the asteroid and pinned down its initial orbit, we've got to keep doing follow-up observations to keep correcting the orbit as that and the gravitational effects change it.
Which means math, a lot of math.
Yes, yeah.
All right, now let me ask you this. There's still people who think a lot of this discovery is happening with high school classes in fields. In fact, let's go back to Hollywood. Deep Impact. It was discovered by a class taking a trip to look at some telescopes. Is that actually how it works? I mean, I know there's a lot of amateurs out there, but how much do they actually find these near-Earth objects?
Actually, amateurs very rarely find any of these objects. We have several telescopes that are what we call survey telescopes. These are big professional telescopes. There's 3 of them near Tucson, Arizona. There's one in Hawaii. These guys are the ones who are scanning the sky all the time, and they usually are the ones who make the first discovery, the first observation of these asteroids. But then they can submit their data to what's called a Minor Planet Center, and the Minor Planet Center will request follow-up observations, and that's where the amateurs come in. They can do the follow-up observations and help improve the orbit calculations.
I got to ask this because there's going to be people at home who are going to be wondering about this. If we did happen to spot a large near-Earth object, and if we ran it through all the maths and found out that it actually was going to hit the Earth, what would we do? I mean, would we send up Bruce Willis with a drilling team and blow it with a nuke?
No.
Okay, no.
Actually, you don't want to blow them up.
Right.
If you blow them up, then you've got a bunch of little pieces coming at you instead of one big piece. There are a couple of techniques that we've toyed around with. One is called gravity tractor, where you put a large spacecraft orbiting with the asteroid, and the mutual gravitation between the two of them, again, over a long period of time, actually changes the orbit. Another is an impactor, where you take a large heavy weight and basically shoot it like a bullet at the asteroid or the comet and change its orbit. If you see the asteroid far enough in advance, like years in advance, you can make very small changes to the orbit and that's sufficient for it to miss the Earth. But you have to detect it years in advance. And right now, most of the asteroids we're not finding them years in advance of their closest approach to the Earth. We're finding them days and even hours in advance.
Especially since we only have a very small percentage of the near-Earth objects actually being tracked.
Right.
Okay.
Now, we can predict them. There have been a few where we've actually predicted impacts on the Earth. There was one in January of last year where an asteroid hit in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and it was predicted, but only about 23 hours before the actual impact.
That wouldn't really be enough time.
No. And the prediction path where we were predicting the impact was somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, somewhere between Central America and the coast of Africa.
So a big window.
So we can warn you, but
you can't yet draw an X on the Earth and say, okay, that's where it's coming down.
If we had enough observations over a long enough period of time, yes, we could. But when you discover it less than 24 hours before it's going to impact you, there's not enough time to really get a good indication of where it's going to land.
This is absolutely fascinating, but there is something happening right now that I think we got to get out to our audience. New Horizon is at the end of a 9-year mission to get out to the edge of our solar system and take the first detailed look at Pluto and her moons. Can you tell me a little bit about how this mission came about, what went into the preparation, and how they actually got it out there, because it doesn't have solar panels?
Right. Actually, it took longer to get the mission launched than the actual trip to Pluto. They've been talking for years about sending a spacecraft out to Pluto. Pluto is the last planet or dwarf planet, depending on who you are, that has been explored by spacecraft. And so it was launched in 2006, early 2006, and it has been flying toward Pluto ever since. It got a little gravity assist from Jupiter, and now it's finally going to arrive on the 14th of July, about 4:50 in the morning our time, and we'll take lots of pictures and send data back.
But they only get one shot. I mean, it's not. It's going too fast to get into orbit.
It's going too fast, so it's going to just fly by Pluto and its moon Charon, and then continue on out into the region we know as the Kuiper Belt.
And it's even going to sample the atmosphere. It's going to be able to detect the atoms as they come off the planet.
Right.
Oh, sorry, the dwarf planet.
Actually, the atmosphere also charged particles that came from the sun that have worked their way out to that part of the solar system. Now, what's really cool is it only has a 30-watt power supply. It's what we call an RTG. It's a device that uses plutonium,
Plutonium-238.
Right, plutonium. And it uses as a heat source to drive the electrical generation. And when it wants to transmit to the Earth, it has to turn. It's got a big antenna on it, but it has to turn and point that antenna towards the Earth. When it's flying by Pluto, it can't point the antenna towards Earth. So we're not going to see anything when it's flying by. We won't even know if it made it until several hours later. And then you have the fact that it's 4.5 hours light time between Pluto and the Earth, so it's going to take that long. Once it starts transmitting, it's going to take that long. And the last thing is its transmission rate is slower than a 1200 baud modem.
I remember those.
Yeah.
I had a 300 baud acoustic coupler, so it's not that bad to me. I will say this, our audience is amazing because they have all read or listened to the book The Martian, which is now being turned into a movie. So they know what an RTG is, a radioisotope thermoelectric generator. That's one of the plot points. Yeah, I know that they would love to learn more about your work. If people wanted to go and find out about the work you do at the Chabot Space and Science Center, where could they go?
Well, they can go up to Chabot. Chabot is a public education facility, so it's not primarily research. It's actually primarily public education. We have our telescopes open for people to look through the telescopes on Friday and Saturday night. And this coming Tuesday at 4:30 in the afternoon, we're going to have a program where we're going to take the NASA TV feed as the first images from New Horizons come down. Wow. So if you want to come up to Chabot at 4:30 on Tuesday afternoon, you get to watch it.
The largest live audience TWiT has ever had was when we were doing a rebroadcast of the last lander on Mars. So if you're interested in seeing something that no humans have seen before, get out to your nearest Space and Science Center. If you're in the Bay Area, you got to drop by Chabot. We've been speaking with Gerald McKeegan. He is a near-Earth object specialist from the Chabot Space and Science Center. Thank you very much for coming on to the
Thanks for having me.
When we come back, it's time for a little bit more help. But before we do that, let's listen to Roger Chang as he explains how we should be using Google Docs.
Hi, my name is Roger Chang, and I'm from the Daily Tech News Show at dailytechnewsshow.com. And here's a tip for you. If you have family members or friends who aren't that savvy with computers and maybe aren't so up on security, an easy way for them to avoid getting any kind of malicious viruses or any kind of bad things that happen, have them open up any attachment, be it an Excel sheet or a document, up in Google Docs. Google Docs will actually sandbox them so nothing will actually breach the Google Docs and into their machine, causing potential headaches, data loss, and just a lot of trouble.
You worked with Jolly Roger probably more than anyone else I know.
Yes, I've probably worked with Jolly Roger more than anybody who's not related to him by blood or marriage.
Back at Tech TV,
Yes.
DLTV,
Yes.
over at Revision 3.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, you've got a long relationship.
Years.
Decades. Decades.
Hundreds and hundreds of minutes.
Hundreds of minutes during which
Millions
you spent
of
a
minutes.
lot of time helping people.
Yes, we did. Which brings me to the point where we should probably, as much as we could talk about the joys of working with Roger Chang, and there are many, we should probably bring up Blythe, who's our second Help Me contestant. Music is like a game show. And I'd like to apologize, Brittany.
Brittany. There we go.
There you go.
From Windham, Connecticut.
Yes.
It looks like it's as warm there as it is in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's definitely warm.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh,
It's
my
like
goodness.
70 degrees here in California,
And I'd
so
like
we're sweating.
to apologize for my inability to read despite having a degree in English literature.
It's okay.
So
It's
there's
all right.
that.
Crazy name.
So you have what I will affectionately call a vintage netbook, because all netbooks are vintage at this point. You are looking for a Linux distribution to bring it back to life.
Pretty much. My kids have iOS, Android, Chrome OS, Windows, and OS 10 at their disposal, but no Linux. So I figured they need to be able to be well versed in most operating systems.
That's, first of all, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for doing that. I think the sooner we get people to realize that operating systems are just tools and we use them as much as they're good, and we use something else as much as they don't work, that's a fantastic. That's the world I want to live in, the world without the flame wars.
Good luck with that one.
So thank you very much for doing that. You also had a stipulation. You, like most smart people, don't want to go through SourceForge anymore.
Most definitely. And unfortunately, every link that I found ended up at SourceForge. So I need some direction because I've been out of the game for a little bit after having my daughter. So I have no idea where to go anymore.
Well, it's funny. We should point out the reason people are stopping. VLC pulled out. A whole bunch of other groups pulled out. SourceForge has been doing some things where they're kind of bundling junkware, or they're looking at. They've been taking over some projects, and essentially, what it comes down to is SourceForge is doing a lot of things that annoyed you about other places to download software for free. It's just doing it in an open source environment. So they're kind of bleeding off projects left and right at this point.
Right. Which is sad because that's what made them popular. There used to be a repository where you could get clean distros, just what you needed, and then that went away.
So, one of the things you want, so it's kind of funny, one of the things people found out about netbooks in the last couple of years is Windows 8, for example, as much as people despise it, the way they started managing memory in Windows 8 actually brought a lot of netbooks to life, because Windows 8 turns out to move things out of main system memory and make more main system memory available to the applications you're actually using, which I bring up is because you probably have like a gigabyte of RAM on that machine.
No, I upgraded.
Oh, 2 gigabytes of RAM?
No, that is a luxury. 2? What will you do? How could you ever use 2 entire gigabytes of memory?
I know, it's crazy.
It's inconceivable.
You had a choice for this, though. I mean, you've got one that fits right in there.
I would say I'm a big fan of Puppy Linux. I'm a big fan of Mint, but Puppy Linux has kind of been my go-to as a sort of complete light footprints, easy to install, version of Linux. You're a big fan of Linux Lite.
Yeah, so Linux Lite it's newer than Puppy Linux. It's based on Ubuntu long-term service. So the idea is it will continually update itself. It will be current. What I like about Linux Lite is, unlike a lot of the other distros where you get something that's a framework and then you pile on what you want, this is ready to go out of the box. It includes everything from VLC, Firefox, LibreOffice, GIMP. It's you don't really have to add anything to have this be a full-featured operating system. It's about 850 megabytes, so it'll fit on your netbook, no problem. It only uses half a gig of memory, so 2 gig will work fine.
So does this sound like something that would work for you, Brittany?
That sounds great. Now, just go to their website.
No, go to SourceForge. Sorry, I had to.
Yeah, both of those you can get not on SourceForge, which is nice.
Okay. LinuxLiteOS.com is the website you're looking for.
There you go. Thank you. And again, thank you for doing the good thing with giving your kids some Linux in their life.
That's so awesome.
Oh, but of course.
Yes. And now go cool off. You know what? Actually, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to watch Know How in a couple of weeks, because we're going to teach you how to make really low-cost homemade air conditioners.
I actually am familiar with that.
No, mine's actually an air conditioner.
Not a swamp cooler.
Not a swamp cooler, an actual air conditioner.
Got something against swamp coolers?
No, I love swamp coolers, but they don't work if the humidity is already 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there we go. Thank you, Brittany. And now, folks, if you want to ask a question to the folks here at the New Screensavers, and remember, Leo's going to be in that back next week, it's really simple. All you got to do is follow these instructions.
Need tech help? The New Screensavers are here with answers. Email your tech questions to newscreensavers@twit.tv.
Now, coming up next, not all of us can be a human beatbox, but you could at least equip your clothing to give you some rhythm. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a moment to thank the third sponsor of this episode of the New Screensavers, and it has to be the Ring Video Doorbell. Now, I've been playing with this gear for weeks now. I actually installed one of these in my parents' home in Las Vegas because I was worried about them. They have a thing going on right now.
No, Vegas.
Vegas. Well, yeah, Vegas too. But they've got people who they check to see if you're home. They go through these elderly neighborhoods and they'll ring the bell and see if maybe you've gone up to the club, and then that's when they break in. Well, I wanted to have a peace of mind of knowing that they're not being scoped out. And I also wanted a video record of who comes to the door. That's exactly what the Ring Video Doorbell does. Now, here's what they include. They include everything that you need in order to get up and running. That includes the Ring Video Doorbell. That includes the drill bit. That includes the level. That includes the screws that you need in order to get it connected where your current doorbell is. Now, the installation is simple. If you've got a doorbell, just remove it. Once you remove it, you get the ability to tie this into your house power. If you don't have house power, if you've got a doorbell that's out in the middle of nowhere, you could also run it off of an internal lithium-ion battery that will run the unit for an entire year. Now, here is my absolute favorite part. It's not just something, a high-tech dinger for your house. It connects to your smartphone, to your tablet. In fact, right now on my phone, I've got it hooked up so that I can know if someone comes up to the door. This is one of those amazing things that I talked about before. This is the strength of the Ring Video Doorbell. Check this out. So right now on my phone, I've got it so that it knows I've had activity on these times of the day. These are when people approach the house. That's not necessarily where they rang the bell. That's just when they came within the range of the motion sensor. And if I click one of these, it's going to start playing a video, and it will actually show me who came up to the door, including audio. Now, it's not just video recording, so this is going to record up to the cloud, but I could download this for reference later. If someone comes up to my parents' house and they appear a little bit shady, I could save it to make sure that I know that it was them, and maybe if they come back a couple of days later, I got myself a case. But it also means that I can be informed anytime someone comes up to the door, and I could actually answer the call, just like I answer my phone. A little button will come up here, either to accept or decline, and then I could see who's at the door, and I can speak to them in real time. Folks, this is the future of your doorbell. You wouldn't use a smoke detector from 30 years ago. You wouldn't use a stereo system from 50 years ago. So why are you using a doorbell from the 30s? get yourself a Ring. And right now, because they love the Twit TV army, they're going to make it easy. If you go to ring.com/NSS, they're going to give you $25 off a Ring doorbell. That means it's $174. It's the best way to equip your house with the next generation of doorbell, folks. I can't express enough that we love them. Remember, go to ring.com/NSS. That's ring.com/NSS. And we thank Ring for their support of the new screensavers. I think we've teased it long enough. I've been telling you about how these folks here are going to turn their bodies into instruments, but in a good way. So I'm here with Tyler Freeman, the CTO of Drum Pants, and with Jerry Hannon, who's going to explain to us why you need Drum Pants. Now, first of all, this is a MIDI controller.
Yes.
What gave you the idea to put a MIDI controller on your pants?
Well, you know, I'm a drummer, and a lot of my friends are musicians, and we're all just always, you know, beating. So I figured, you know, it'd be great just to be able to have it make actual music and then be able to record it into your app. So if a beat comes to you when you're on the bus or something, you can, you know, play.
There's something about rhythm. I saw your product at Maker Faire in San Mateo. And it was actually being manned by, I think he was a product manager over at Atmel, because you were in the Atmel Pavilion. And yours was one of the most popular demonstration stations. There's something about drums. There's something about rhythm that people just can't help but play with. It's almost like instinctual.
Yeah, it's really amazing, especially like the kids just love it. And there's so many like kids out there now that they live in the city, they live in an apartment, they can't afford a giant drum set and, you know, a separate studio to play it, you know, so you can't play in your apartment, right? But they just love beating on things and making music. So I really want to make the Drum Pants to kind of enable these kids that, you know, may not be able to afford a whole drumming setup in a studio to put in, to at least learn how to drum and learn about making rhythm.
Just give them a little bit of rhythm, a little rhythm lesson. Let's talk about the tech that actually makes this work. So, of course, you've got some sort of sensor that you can strap to clothing, but then you need something that could turn the input from that sensor into actual MIDI formatted signals. Tell me how that works.
Yeah, so you can see right here on my leg, I'm wearing our velocity sensitive drum pad. So the harder the louder it gets, like a real drum. So you can strap them onto your pants. You can Velcro them into your clothes.
Show them the other side.
You know, I got ones on this side too. I just put this one on the outside so you can see what it looks like. But you can walk around and no one knows you're a drummer until you start drumming, right?
Now you're calling these drum pants, but that's not limited to pants, right? I mean, I could put this on my. I got a lot of drum space here.
So many. Like, let's check out some of the other. You know, we got the dubstep, we got the hip hop, we got the reggae.
Like, can I hear a drop?
You want to hear the dubstep? Okay. I haven't played this one yet. I don't know what this is going to sound like.
Yeah, that's definitely wub, wub, wub.
Yep.
Okay, now there are going to be people in our audience who are saying, wait a minute, drum pants. I've heard this before, and I didn't go to Maker Faire, and that's because you were on Shark Tank. Can you tell me what that was about? Because, okay, I'm going to be honest here. Shark Tank made your people look like they didn't know what they wanted. And that's part of the magic of TV. But what was that experience like?
Oh, well, you know, it was very intense. You know, we recorded so early in our like product development. We were kind of showing like these very early 3D printed, you know, beta kits. That we had like 2 of them, right? So we were showing them those and you know, and yeah, of course, you know, they edited it and cut it to...
They wanted to make it seem dramatic.
Tell a story that they want to tell, right? So,
right. Well, your people were very clear. Like, look, what you're offering, we can't build it for that. So you need to offer more. But then, of course, they went back into the magic of the editing booth, and they made it seem as if your people passed up a huge opportunity. And that's just not
huge
really how it was.
opportunity to give away all your company.
Exactly. Now, going through that, I mean, do you think that was a positive, or did that sour you on trying to take your company through the media?
Oh, not at all. I mean, it was, you know, great for, you know, getting the word out about Drum Pants. You know, we made a ton of sales that weekend when it came out. And then, you know, we had, you know, I want to say real investors, but we had Silicon Valley investors coming and actually, you know, offering us like
actual money.
Yeah, deals for, you know, a legitimate amount of equity. And
right,
they I think, actually kind of understood the, you know, that tech side. And
The high offer on the tank was something like $250,000, and they basically wanted the entire company. That was
not appealing. That's for sure.
Not at all. Now, let me do this. We're of course, we're going to give you your plug time. We're going to tell people where they can go if they want to pick one of these up and maybe play with it. But I think our audience needs to know what it actually sounds like. Might you be able to maybe throw a little something together?
Put a little tune here together.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go do that.
This is the ABC song. She was a fan of the A's, allergic to bees. She traveled the seas and had a lovely pair of D's. I met her with ease, thought we were F. Next thing she's saying, geez, honey, I have a headache. Oh, yeah. So we look into her eyes and we smoke a couple of J's. When she felt okay, we both said, what the bloody hell? Well, she melted like M&M, baby, when she's burning at both ends. I gave it the big O, and I made her so happy. Well, sometimes you miss your cue, and you don't know where you are. You don't want no Mr. Rest when you're tainted by the tease. And then you let her use all the credit on your fees. I said I must be seeing double. You remind me of my ex, and I guess it explains why I wanna roll over, catch some Z's.
Woo! Gentlemen, thank you so very much. That was fantastic. Of course, there are more applications for this than just music. I mean, anytime someone wants an industry standard way to get input in, they got to be using drum pants. They got to look at drum pants. Could you tell the folks at home where they can go to find out more about drum pants, more about you, more about what you offer?
Yeah, you can just go to our website, drumpants.com, and actually we are just finishing up an Indiegogo campaign this weekend. So it ends on Monday. If you want that special pre-order price before it goes up to retail prices on Monday, get it this weekend while you can.
There you go.
Excellent.
And so make sure to go to Drum Pants if you want to play by the seat of your pants. Gentlemen, thank you very much. That's Tyler Freeman, the CTO of Drum Pants, and of course, Jerry Hannon. We thank you for being on the new Screensavers.
Cheers.
Now, folks, in just a bit, we're going to head on over to the mailbox. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a gander with Jason Calacanis. He's got a little tip for consumer services.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis, angel investor, blogger, and podcaster. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm just @Jason. And today I want to tell you about one of my favorite services, a service I love so much that I actually angel invested in the company. It's called Thumbtack. And when you use Thumbtack on your phone, you just download the app. It asks you 2 questions. What service do you need, and near which zip code? So if I put in piano lessons and I put in my zip code in San Francisco or New York, whatever, LA, then it asks me, who are these lessons for, you or somebody else? What age is the person? Are they intermediate, beginner, advanced? And they ask you a series of 10 questions, and they've done this for everything from plumbing to painting to, you know, piano lessons, etc. And they have people doing hundreds, now thousands of these little scripts, these little questionnaires. Then they take that questionnaire and they offer it to the best people in that vertical. Those people then make you a quote based on what you just sent them, and they send you an email with a quote in it. They don't get your email, they send you an email. And then you can look at them and say, hey, I got 3 different piano teachers for my daughter who's 5 years old, who's a beginner, who wants to practice twice a week for 30 minutes each time. And it's so convenient, saves so much time. I can't tell you, I've ordered 3 or 4 different people for different things we're doing around the house, or again, piano lessons, whatever it happens to be. So check out Thumbtack. It's an amazing app, amazing service. It will save you a lot of time.
You know, Drum Pants, someone in the chat room is saying maybe I should consider drone pants.
Drone pants.
I don't know exactly how that would work, but it sounds
pants
like
that
a good
fly
idea.
you away.
Or maybe just pants.
Remote
that you're done with
pants.
them and they hover to the roof.
Quad pants.
Yeah.
This is just going nowhere.
Let's go nowhere. Instead, let's go ahead and take a look at the mailbag. That's
the drone mailbox.
Actually, one of the early renditions was we were going to fly it in, but then I had to tell them that there's actually going to be a lot of noise. So yeah,
and the potential for blood.
How about this? I'll take this one. You take those 2.
Sounds like a plan.
That sounds like a plan. Do I have number 1? I've got number 1. Folks, we got a little bit of a mail here from longtime fan Cole, who says, we've got the northern lights stronger than we've seen in quite some time here in sunny Minnesota. During this time, my phone seems to drain more rapidly than normal. Coincidence, atmospheric disturbance, or government conspiracy? How much of a role do fluctuations in the Earth's magnetosphere, if it's not a real term, I'm sticking with it because it's awesome, play in our communications? Again, longtime fan, Cole. Cole, great question, actually. This is something a lot of people want to know.
And I'm down with magnetosphere also, because now I see Magneto and his magic metal.
That's right. Yeah, the
space doom travel thing. So well, it's funny. So the northern lights are essentially. So we have a sun. The sun has flares. The flares throw off ridiculous amounts of energy. The energy hits the surface. It's basically and then charged particles hit the atmosphere, release a photon, and that's what creates the northern lights. Yeah. So basically, what you're talking about is a massive amount of RF energy that can interrupt GPS. Cell communications, I'm told by experts, pretty much anything involving
satellites,
RF.
actually.
Yeah.
I mean, when they get these, there's actually a bureau. It's like solar weather, sun weather, basically, and they track when they have these large coronal mass ejections, because that is just tons, billions and billions of tons of matter being thrown out. If it happens to head in the direction of the Earth, that's really bad. Again, that's those charged particles, and the more you get, the further down the northern lights will get.
So, what happens when your cell phone suddenly loses connection?
Well, when my cell phone loses connection, it's going to do two things. One, it's going to jack up the transmitter power, try to break through whatever interference it can get. Two, it's going to start pinging a lot.
Bingo. And those two things consume a huge amount of energy. So if because part of me wants to be like, it's a coincidence. But if you're losing the contact with the cell tower, your phone freaks out, it panics, it starts pinging, it boosts up the transmitter power, and that consumes a tremendous amount of energy. Yeah, GPS on your phone probably consumes the most energy, followed by the screen, but the radio actually consumes a fair amount of energy. And most of, basically all the things that save energy on the radio pretty much all get thrown out the window when your phone goes, I can't find anything, I can't find anything, and it just starts hurling out attempts to find a cell tower, and that will eat your battery away.
And you can actually duplicate this. If you've ever gone on a plane and you haven't turned your phone into airplane mode, you'll notice your battery drains crazy fast on that 3-4 hour trip across the United States. And that's because your phone, in absence of a cell phone tower, has jacked up its transmission power, and it's continuously beaconing. It's just trying to get some sort of connectivity, and that's why it runs down. Now, we're not saying, at least I don't think we're saying, that it's not a government conspiracy, because it could be HAARP, the High Altitude something research project that they've got up in Alaska. It could be someone has hijacked your phone and is deliberately draining your battery because they don't want you to see your next Facebook update. But I would probably guess it's just RF interference.
I'm going with the RF interference.
Yeah,
Call me crazy.
All right.
Number 2, in response to your comments from Dave in Salem, Ohio, about he can transfer his family's VHS tapes to digital, I'm stunned. Stunned! Nobody mentioned the VCR DVD recorder as a possibility. While it's not as ideal as a company professionally dubbing his tapes over using top-of-the-line equipment, it's better than a composite or even S-video to digital adapter like Roxio or Elgato sells, and it's easy to use. It's a bit more expensive than a breakout box from Elgato, but at the end of it all, you have a DVD recorder player you can now use to burn DVDs. Great show. Keep up the great work, Timothy.
Timothy, you're absolutely right. That's a very good option. In fact, I've used those in the past to transfer not just VHS, but it had a VHS, a DV deck, and a DVD burner. So that does work. I still personally like to get things onto my computer just because it's no good for me to transfer from one media to another media that
you can transfer it from one media to the other media, then you can take the other media and rip it to your actual computer.
Right. Personally, what I would like to do is I would rip it to my computer and then probably push it up to YouTube or something.
And I also got to say, I have some real questions about whether or not the VCR to DVD done inside the VCR to DVD box is going to be better than what you can get out of some of the third-party tools out there.
So is it a possibility? Sure. And you could do that. And yes, it means you have some hardware left over at the end, but then you have to consider what kind of hardware you have left over at the end. You have a VHS deck and a DVD deck. And
bring back 1997. We're going to pirate. Woo! Sorry.
Okay.
Good. We got a response for when Help Me Caller Judy was looking for a voice-controlled remote. John writes, having written 45 miles each way to turn on my senior mother's television several times a month, I feel the caller's pain. The solution I use is the Flipper Remote. That's flipperremote.com. The bottom line is the remote can be locked so advanced features cannot be accessed. Combine this with an RF blaster so no matter where the remote is pointed, it turns both the TV and the cable box on, and my evening trips have all but disappeared. Lots less stress for the family and at least 90 miles less driving to turn on mom's television. You're a good boy, John.
You're a very good boy. What impresses me even more than the Flipper remote, because you can get that sort of remove the advanced function just by removing the buttons from the remote, which I have done. But putting IR repeaters in every corner of the room, because the biggest problem, and anyone who has parents who aren't that tech savvy knows that this is true, is if they like do this with the remote when they hit on, and it turns on one component but not another, and now every time they hit it, it swaps them, so one's always off or on at the wrong time. If I could have a room where it didn't matter where the remote was pointing, it always got every signal to every component, that would be 90% of the trouble calls I make.
So much joy with IR remote systems. So much joy.
Doesn't it kind of strike you that we should have figured that out by now? We should have some sort of bi-directional remote that's universal for everything.
Don't get me started.
But then again, there would be power thing because they'd have to be on all the time. And
well, you know, I can deal with the fact that IR is still a standard as much as I love RF. And like Harmony remotes, you know, Logitech Logis Harmony remotes are unbelievably fantastic, especially if you want an incredibly family-friendly system, despite how many things you've bolted onto it in your home theater. But you know what's even worse than IR remotes is IR helicopters and RC cars. And there's nothing sadder.
I don't know why they do that.
There's nothing sadder than the face of a small child when they send the helicopter up and it gets out of range of the IR remote and it just goes. Like the red balloon, man.
I don't feel as if this is a theoretical experience for you.
No, it's not theoretical at all.
No.
But what I'm saying is just walk away from IR when you can.
Yeah. IR's kind of
done. And flash. Remove flash.
IR was very impressive back in the 60s. I think we're done with it now, folks. Let's go ahead and move forward.
If you want to participate in the mailbag, if you want to be a part of the New Screensavers, newscreensavers@twit.tv is the email address to send your communiques.
Absolutely. I want to thank you, Patrick, for being back on here. My
pleasure.
This is like your 4th time back on the show, right? In 10 episodes.
Third, I think.
3rd, 4th, something like that. But it is always a pleasure. I love working with you. I worked with you on an episode of Know How and now here, and every single time it's fun.
I always learn something. It's fun when I'm on with you, but I always learn something. It's usually something that I can't believe you actually know off the top of your head. I have this feeling that somewhere you have a book and you're studying facts just so you can draw one out at the right moment.
Well,
it's a beautiful thing.
That's my job.
That is your job.
Yeah, I deal in obscura. But seriously, if you could tell the folks at home where they can find you, because you're doing exciting things. You're doing some fantastic content. If you want to learn how to build, if you want to learn how to be a geek, if you want to learn how to do things, you got to follow Patrick Norton. And where do they do that?
At Patrick Norton is my Twitter account, or you can go to techthing.com or youtube.com/techthing. Those are kind of the primary projects. And I got some new writing coming up for tested.com, which is really fun, but that's the big one, TechThing, TKTHING.
Ooh, you played with the 50. I love the 1550. That is a great box.
It's so
fast.
It's so much overkill for a home user, but it is so badass.
Are you actually bonding the Ethernet channels?
Not yet.
Yeah, I got a switch that you could use if you want to do that, because it is fantastic. It is when you actually start seeing those transfer rates go up to like 4,000. You're like, oh, okay.
Well, it's funny. The box will support so what we're talking about is a Synology DS1515 Plus, which is a super badass, like a $780. I can't really call it a RAID box. It's a NAS box. It does Synology's RAID system. It does RAID 5, but it'll deliver like 450 megabytes per second if you have the network to support it. So most people are running gigabit, so you get a quarter of that speed. But what blows my mind is the fact they have hardware encryption on the board.
I know.
So it can do full AES encryption on the fly to the drives. So that's just epic.
It's a geek-tacular parade, and make sure you check him out because he's got the goods on the 1515 Plus. Also, we want to thank everyone here who made this show possible. Of course, Lisa and Leo, who made it possible by going away on their honeymoon so that Patrick and I could play. We'd
So
like to invite
thoughtful.
them to go on vacation as much as possible, and I'll invite Patrick over each and every single week. We'll just geek out. Also, you got this big crew behind us.
Yes.
We got Karsten, who's been doing all the directing. We've got Alex on the camera, and
the long-suffering Alex, the long-suffering
Alex.
Karsten.
We call him Mr. Grumple. And we got Jason, who doesn't normally TD for us, but he's done a fantastic job.
Actually, a round of applause. Jason got thrown into it, man.
And of course, Tanya, Jerry, everyone who's made segments for us, you've all been great. This is what makes the Screensaver. Don't forget that you can find us every single week, 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific time on Saturdays. Go to live.twit.tv if you want to see the pre-show, the post-show, and everything in between. And as long as you're watching live, jump into our live chat room at irc.twit.tv. Be part of the experience that is the Twit TV Army. Until next time, he's Patrick Norton. I'm Father Robert Balliser. This was the new Screensavers, and we'll see you next time.